Hello there guys, welcome to one of my live videos, and on this video this morning I am going to be giving you a preview for the Chelsea-Manchester United game at Stamford Bridge on Monday 8 o'clock kickoff. So I am going to be giving you some team news, also going to be giving you my starting 11 prediction, but I will be delving into the starting 11 prediction a bit later on in the video and that. And yeah, so we'll get on now with the team news. So I have got some news regarding Paul Pogba, got some news regarding McTominay, Tuanzebe and Fosu Mensah. So the situation is with Paul Pogba, like I updated you yesterday night. He said, he's recovering well 1 month after, the surgery on his ankle. But Paul Pogba is not going to be playing in this game against Chelsea, more than likely. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did confirm, I think it was last month, that, he said, Paul Pogba was expected to return at some point in February, but now that is not the case. And, the earliest we are looking at Paul Pogba being back is the Manchester City game on the 8th of March, which I think is a couple of weeks away. So this means Paul Pogba is going to miss the game on Monday against Chelsea. He's going to miss the both legs against Club Brugge. He's also going to miss the game against Watford, and he's going to miss the game against Everton at the beginning of March. But obviously, when Paul Pogba does come back, of course, it will be fantastic for Manchester United, and obviously, when Paul Pogba does come back, that's the chances, of course, of Manchester United getting that top four. Of course, Paul Pogba's appearances have been limited this season, due to the injuries he's had. He's only played around 8 games this season for the football club. Of course, he has been out with an ankle injury. Don't forget, he also had an injury earlier on in the season, did Pogba. But that injury was totally comparison to the one that he's had recently in that. But he has sustained quite a few injuries as a Manchester United player, as Pogba. And obviously, he wasn't part of the warm weather training camp in Spain because he was continuing his rehabilitation from his ankle injury. But yeah, he is expected to be back for the Manchester City game. Of course, we know that Paul Pogba is going to be leaving the football club in the summer because he's already, told our teammates that he's going to be moved on in the summer. Obviously, a lot of United fans have got different perceptions on it. Some United fans would like to keep him, and some United fans, would be happy to see him go. Of course, we are going to generate a substantial amount for his departure. Obviously, we've already generated some funds. Obviously, we reflect on some of the players that left last summer. So obviously we have generated some funds, but we can afford to let Paul Pogba go if we can get Jack Grealish in the summer transfer window and that. I think he'll either go to Real Madrid or Juventus in the summer, because reflecting back last summer, Paul Pogba was relentlessly linked to a move to Real Madrid. The main explanation why his move to Real Madrid didn't materialise was reflecting on the substantial amount we wanted, because we wanted around 180 million. Real Madrid were not prepared to pay that. Of course, Juventus were in for him. I think he could possibly make a return to Turin, because he did enjoy 4 good years in Turin, did Pogba. But the vast majority of his performances at Man United since he rejoined the club in 2016 have been totally comparison. I think we mainly saw the best of Paul Pogba in that 3-month period when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the interim manager. Paul Pogba, of course, is still regarded as one of the best midfielders in the world. Obviously, I think now he's heading into the final year of his contract. Manchester United do have the option to extend his contract by a further year. But, we won't only generate, a good amount for him. It'll also free up our wage bill a bit more, because obviously, Pogba's on around 290 grand a week at the football club on his current contract. But Pogba has got the same perception now as what he had last summer, because he did reveal at the beginning of last summer, don't forget, that he wanted to leave the football club, and he did say he was seeking for a new challenge, and he actually publicly admitted that he wanted to leave the football club. But yeah, he's recovering well from his injury, but he's not going to be available for the Chelsea game. From the player's perception, he's hopeful that he can be fully fit for the Chelsea game, but I can't see him being involved and all of that. So that's the latest news regarding Paul Pogba. Now, also, let's give you the news regarding Scott McTominay, Tuanzebe and Fosu Mensah. So the news regarding McTominay, I don't think he's going to be back for the Chelsea game. He is recovering well from his injury, because McTominay has been out with a knee injury. You know, he has been a big miss as McTominay, because I thought before he got injured, you know, he was doing really, really well, and he has been a revelation this season for Manchester United. McTominay was part of the warm weather training camp in Spain, so he's close to returning. Fosu and Tuanzebe, they were also both part of the warm weather training camp in Spain. You know, they're also close to returning, but again, they're going to be doubts for this game against Chelsea. Obviously, we'll know more regarding the team news and that and everything else when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does his press conference, and my reaction to his press conference will be coming up. Of course, we know that Marcus Rashford is out. He's going to be out for at least the next couple of months, is Marcus Rashford. You know, because obviously he's got a back injury, and, you know, like I said, that's very disappointing because Rashford's been one of our best players this season. And yeah, so that's a bit of the team news. Of course, Odion Ighalo is going to be making his debut on Monday against Chelsea, and like I mentioned, he's a good cover-up for Rashford. He's also a good alternative to Anthony Martial. It's going to be interesting to see how he, you know, plays. I think he will get his opportunities, will Odion Ighalo. You know, he's a well-experienced player. He's a lifelong Manchester United fan. You know, Man United got him on deadline day just before the transfer window shut. We have got him on loan until the end of the season. We've paid around 3 or 4 million to get him on loan, and we know we like paying a third of his wages. I think, you know, during his 3 years with Watford, he played like 3 times against Man United. You know, did Odion Ighalo. Also wasn't so bad in China, so hopefully he can deliver the goods at Manchester United. He is fighting for Anthony Martial's role, so I do presume Man United are going to, you know, not play Martial in that number 9. You know, we're either going to drop him completely, or we're going to put him on the left-hand side, which is Martial's predominant position, because analysing the vast majority of his tenure with Man United, he has been operating on that left-hand side as Anthony Martial. It's only been this season he's been operating in that number 9 role, but recently he has received a lot of criticism, reflecting on his bad run of performances. And I think if he continues his bad run of performances, Manchester United do need to consider selling Anthony Martial in the summer. He's had some good spells as a Man United player. I think probably the best season he enjoyed at the club was his debut season. You know, was it back in 2015? And this was under the Louis van Gaal era and that. But he has received a lot of criticism. So I do presume we'll put Odion Ighalo in that number 9. As you all know, Odion Ighalo was not part of the warm weather training camp in Spain. You know, the main explanation is with the fears of the coronavirus, because as you all know, that coronavirus has been going around. And I do presume that Bruno Fernandes will be making his second appearance for the football club. I do presume Manchester United will put Bruno Fernandes in that number 10, because that's his predominant position. Reflecting on his debut against Wolves, I thought Bruno Fernandes did absolutely fantastically well. As you all know, he had the most touches in the first half. He created more chances, I think, than any other player. So he was very, very good on his debut. And Bruno Fernandes gave his overarching view on his debut, and, you know, he wasn't so happy with it. But, you know, I think he's going to do well at Manchester United, is Bruno Fernandes. Like I've mentioned before, the only element of concern I've got is the usage of the player. You know, is Solskjaer going to keep him in his predominant position? Because, like Giggs was saying the other week, like he updated you, if he, you know, he's operating in a defensive midfield role, Bruno Fernandes could become a liability. And obviously in the Wolves game before the winter break, you know, Solskjaer, rotated Bruno Fernandes as a holding midfielder halfway through the first half of the game against Wolves. So the interchange was definitely, poor. But Bruno Fernandes, Man United paid 68 million. With add-ons included, I think he's like the 4th most expensive sign at the club. And obviously, he signed a 5.5-year deal with an option of a further year. So it's like 6.5 years. But I think at Manchester United, he can replicate what he did at Sporting Lisbon. He enjoyed a good 2.5 years at Sporting Lisbon, scored 64 goals in 137 appearances in all competitions, and is only at the age of 25. So yeah, he'll be making his second Premier League appearance. And Solskjaer probably will make a couple of changes from the 0-0 draw against Wolves. But revert back to what I said about Pogba. Some people want to keep him because Pogba and Bruno Fernandes, in our midfield, they would make a fantastic partnership. But on the other hand, if we got Jack Grealish, Jack Grealish alongside Bruno Fernandes would be fantastic. It'd be even more better if we was to get James Maddison in as well as Jack Grealish. So, yeah. So that's everything on that. And, of course, this is a very, very big game for Manchester United, Obviously, we have to win this game against Chelsea on Monday to keep our top four ambitions alive. Like I mentioned the other day, we failed to beat Chelsea on Monday. I'm going to fully disregard that top four. So what I mean is the top four will be over if we don't beat Chelsea. Because if Chelsea beat us on Monday, Chelsea will be 9 points in front of us with 11 or 12 games to go. But on the other hand, if we beat Chelsea, we are only 3 points behind. And then I think, we are still in that top four race. As it stands at the moment, we are 6 points behind Chelsea. I did say, one of our ambitions this season is to finish in that top four. We need to finish in that top four this season so we can get Champions League football secured. And obviously, I think we failed to qualify for Europe, for the Champions League 3 times out of the last 6 years. So we have got to get that top four this season. But I do believe in the next couple of seasons overall anyway, our aspirations will be that top four. But there's quite a few teams in that top four race, so take that into account. Because if we don't get that top four this season or we don't qualify for any European football, then it could affect us in the summer transfer window. Because obviously, a lot of players to the elite level, want to be in Champions League football, and that is the difference. And like I mentioned before, our sponsors, Adidas and Chevrolet, they've got substantial clauses in their contract, and it did say, if we don't get any European footballer out, it will reduce our spending power in the summer and that. So we've got to get that top four this season. Of course, we are looking to beat Chelsea for the third time, this season, because we've already beaten them twice this season. We beat them earlier on this season 2-1 at Stamford Bridge in the Carabao Cup. We also beat them at Old Trafford earlier on this season. Well, that was the first game of the season. We beat them at Old Trafford by 4-0. Didn't play particularly well. Chelsea played the most expansive football in the first half, but we still ended up winning the game by 4-0. And Rashford had scored twice in that game. So yeah, we're looking to beat Chelsea for the third time this season. But we've got to get back to winning ways in the Premier League, because, we are winless in our last 3 Premier League games. We haven't even scored in our last 3 Premier League games. This is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Frank Lampard's third meeting as managers. And, Solskjaer's obviously overcome Frank Lampard twice. So he's looking to beat Frank Lampard for the third time. He's looking to beat Frank Lampard for the third time. Because, to be fair, since Solskjaer got recommended in as manager, we've had a really, really good record against Chelsea. I don't actually think, Man United have lost to Chelsea since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got recommended in. I think we've beaten them 3 times since Solskjaer came in. Like I mentioned, we've beaten them twice this season. We also beaten them in the FA Cup last season by 2-0. And yeah, so we've won actually our last 2 visits to Stamford Bridge. Obviously, we've got a bad record at Stamford Bridge in the league. We haven't won at Stamford Bridge in the Premier League since 2012. So that's 8 years ago now. So our record at Stamford Bridge isn't too good. Obviously, with Chelsea, I'll give you a bit of their team news and that. Chelsea have had quite a few injuries this season. But they have been very inconsistent this season. That's the only main explanation why Manchester United are still in that top 4 race. I think Chelsea, from a Chelsea perspective, they'll be hopeful that Christian Pulisic can be available for this game. He's been out with injury. Xabi Costa's out with injury. So too is Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Marco van Dingle. Recently, not too long ago, Olivier Giroud come back. Tammy Abraham come back. Marco Alonso was injured early on the season, so Chelsea have had a lot of injuries this season. I gave you the news, didn't I, the other day? Chelsea have made their first signing under Frank Lampard. Well, obviously, they're going to get him in the summer, the player. It's their first signing under Frank Lampard, and they have signed Hakim Ziyech from Ajax, like I did give you an update on. I think Chelsea have got him for around, is it 37 or 38 million pounds? Is he what? I think he's in his mid-20s, isn't he? Something like that. He's predominantly a right winger, but can also play as a number 10. So Chelsea, will be delighted with the signing of him. But he's going to be at Chelsea in the summer. Also, Chelsea have got quite a few other players on their agenda. Like I said, they are still in for Jadon Sancho. You know, obviously they're interested now in Jude Bellingham. They're also interested in Moussa Dembele. So obviously, you know, Chelsea are going to be determined, you know, to give Frank Lampard time to spend money at Chelsea, you know, and all of that. You know, Frank Lampard, do I think he's the right manager for Chelsea? Don't know, to be quite honest with you. Obviously, we know that Frank Lampard is very inexperienced as a manager. You know, this is only his first full season with Chelsea. You know, he only started his managerial career last season with Derby. You know, he did progress Derby to the playoff final, did Frank Lampard. I thought Frank Lampard was a very, very good player for Chelsea, you know, because he endured 13 years with Chelsea. Obviously scored 211 goals, so he's their all-time record-leading goal scorer and that. And I've got the same perception on Solskjaer. You know, very, very good player for Man United for 11 years. Flourished under Ferguson's guidance, but, you know, too inexperienced as a manager. So Solskjaer and Frank Lampard are both inexperienced as managers. Obviously, you know, Chelsea have had problems, obviously. You know, they obviously had the transfer ban at one point, but obviously they've no longer now got that transfer ban. You know, they lost one of their best players last summer in Eden Hazard. You know, he did go to Real Madrid. And Eden Hazard endured, 6 or 7 years, you know, with Chelsea, so he was a long-serving player. You know, Chelsea did make a mistake by getting rid of Eden Hazard, so take that into account. But, you know, Frank Lampard does deserve time. You know, obviously he's got one player in now on the board for the summer. And obviously, you know, he's going to want to make further more investment in Chelsea's squad. Obviously, you know, in the past, 5 or 6 years, Chelsea have had more managers sacked than Manchester United. We've sacked 3 managers, you know, in the last 5 or 6 years or so. Chelsea's sacked a lot. You know, obviously, you know, Chelsea sacked Maurizio Sarri, you know, last season, despite the fact he progressed Chelsea to the League Cup final. And he also, you know, did win the Europa League with Chelsea, but that wasn't enough to keep Maurizio Sarri there. Obviously, you know, before him, they had Antonio Conte. They sacked him, despite the fact he won the Premier League in his first season. They also had, you know, Gus Hiddink at one point. You know, Jose Mourinho. He endured 2 spells with Chelsea, and I think he won the Premier League 3 times with Chelsea. But he got sacked. The main explanation why he got sacked was something to do with the club's doctor. You know, they also had Di Matteo at one point. Rafa Benitez, they sacked him. You know, Avram Grant, Scarari, you know, Villas-Boas, he got sacked despite the fact that Chelsea won the Champions League under his guidance. You know, they sacked Carlo Ancelotti, you know, despite the fact he won the double, was it back in 2009 and 2010. So Chelsea have sacked a lot of managers in a short period of time. But, you know, I think, you know, Chelsea have still got some very, very good players in their team. You know, like I mentioned, I rate Willian a lot. I don't think Pedro's too bad. You know, Rudiger's a pretty decent centre-half. Azpilicueta isn't so bad. You know, N'Golo Kante's a very good midfielder. You know, obviously, you know, he progressing up the ranks in France and he's emulated himself up over the years as N'Golo Kante. You know, won the Premier League in his first season with Leicester. Won the Premier League in his first season with Chelsea. Very, very good midfielder. Of course, Chelsea have got Jorginho in there. I think they got him from Napoli for around 57 million. You know, they've got Ross Barkley. So Chelsea have got some pretty decent players in their team. You know, they've also got quite a few good young players. You know, I do rate that Callum Hudson-Odoi a lot. You know, Tammy Abraham's very good for them. You know, that Reece James, he was also injured earlier on in the season. But, you know, they have got a pretty decent team, but definitely further more investment is needed in Chelsea's squad. Maybe on the other hand, they could consider getting rid of players in the summer. But, you know, they'll be disappointed that they didn't get anyone in January, and they'll be disappointed on the other hand that they didn't get Hakim Ziyech in the January transfer window. But actually in the January transfer window, Ajax were reluctant to offload him. Chelsea had a few targets on their agenda in January. You know, they went in for Dries Mertens from Napoli. They also inquired about the availability of getting Edison Cavani in. So they had quite a few players on their current agenda, did Chelsea. But I'm really looking forward to this game. You know, I think one of the most iconic matches between Man United and Chelsea was the 2008 Champions League final. Of course, you know, when we did win on penalties and John Terry Rambino did miss that penalty. But there's been a lot of good games between Chelsea and Man United over the years. So now I am going to delve into the, you know, starting 11 prediction. I probably do believe that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to stick with a 4-2-3-1 formation because he has been going with that formation on a regular basis this season. I did say it doesn't really suit our standards, that 4-2-3-1 formation. You know, a couple of times this season, Solskjaer's gone with 3 at the back. And from my own perception, we look more expansive, with 3 at the back. But I think we are going to go with the 4-2-3-1 formation. So obviously I'm going to go with David De Gea in goal. Of course, he's our number one choice goalkeeper. He's been our number one choice, for, a long time now. Obviously, he hasn't been so good in the last year or so, at least, as David De Gea. And if Dean Henderson is to, return to Man United after his loan spell with Sheffield United, I think he'll become our number one goalkeeper because Dean Henderson has done really, really well during his loan spell with Sheffield United. But for the time being, it will be David De Gea. David De Gea has been a long servant here. He's now into his 9th season at Manchester United and he has enjoyed 8 years here. When he plays against Chelsea, that will be his 301st appearance in the Premier League for Manchester United. Of course, De Gea's won everything here domestically. He's the highest paid goalkeeper in the world. He's the highest paid at the football club. But analysing his career, I think he's had a good 7 years out of the 8 years or so he has been at Manchester United, and he's 28 or 29. Not the best goalkeeper in the world at this present time, but overall he's still one of the best goalkeepers in the world. So yeah, it will be David De Gea in goal. You've got Romero as well, who's our second choice goalkeeper, but he tends to play in the cup games. Lee Grant, obviously, he hasn't really played much since we got him from Stoke in the summer of 2018. So yeah, De Gea in goal, and Wan-Bissaka at right back, because obviously Wan-Bissaka is our first choice right back and that, and I think he's done really, really well at Manchester United. Doesn't really show much in terms of an attacking intent, but I think on the other hand, his defensive distribution's good. He shows that ability to play out from the back. But Wan-Bissaka has done really, really well for us. Obviously, Diego Dalot, he's a backup at that right back position. He's just recently come back from injury as Diego Dalot. Centre-back partnership, Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof, because obviously, they are our first choice centre-halves, are Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof. And Harry Maguire, I think he's mainly done well this season. He's had a few bad games as a Manchester United player, but I think overall he's done really, really well. Obviously, Manchester United paid £80 million for him, last summer from Leicester. So that means he's the second most expensive signing at the club, and he is the most expensive defender in the world, is Harry Maguire. But yeah, he would play alongside Lindelof in our back line. Lindelof, he's had some bad games this season, but I think he's also had a lot of good games as Victor Lindelof. Some people are maybe saying in the summer it would be beneficial if we could get a centre-half in, someone like Harry Maguire's level, and then obviously, we could use Lindelof as a backup, basically. Yeah, we could use Lindelof as a backup, but that's what he'll go with. We've obviously got a lot of centre-halves in the team. We've still got obviously Bay here. Bay's just recently recovered from injury. Fosu-Mensah's still here. Obviously Phil Jones is still here and that. So we have still got about a good 4 or 5 centre-halves in the team. At left-back, Solskjaer will go with Brandon Williams, because obviously now he's our first choice left-back, is Brandon Williams. And he's a much better solution than Luke Shaw. With Luke Shaw, I've got element of concerns about him. He's struggling for that consistency, is Luke Shaw. Obviously, he's very injury prone. Solskjaer may go with Luke Shaw on the experience, because obviously he's highly experienced and he's a lot more experienced than Brandon Williams, but Brandon Williams is a much better solution. But on the other hand, he is still inexperienced, is Brandon Williams. This is only his first season in the senior squad, so could we possibly try and get a left back in the summer, and use possibly, Brandon Williams as a backup. In the midfield, he will go with Fred and Matic, because obviously I don't think McTominay or Pogba are going to be available for this game, like I mentioned. I think Fred's recently rejuvenated himself, and definitely Fred is one of the players I would be determined to keep at Man United. Again, Man United overpaid for Fred, because we paid around £15 million for him. But he's done really, really well recently. I think he tends to do well more when he's playing alongside McTominay, but on the other hand, he's had a good couple of games when he's been playing alongside Nemanja Matic. Fred deserves time, because let's be honest, he never really got the opportunity under Jose Mourinho, did Fred. But he's done very, very well recently. And with Matic, of course, he missed the game against Wolves. because obviously he was suspended, reflecting on his sending off against Manchester City in the Carabao Cup semi-final second leg. And I thought Matic did really, really well in that particular game against Man City. But as you all know, I've got a lot of element of concerns about him. Too slow, too easily predictable. Matic is now into his third season at Manchester United. He has made over 100 appearances for the club, I think, in all competitions. And, we paid £40 million to him from Chelsea. So, yeah, I didn't really want him at the time anyway. We recommended Matic in. Plus, he's aging up now. I think he could be one of the players that could be moved on at the end of the season. So, them two in, the midfield. And then, obviously, Bruno Fernandes in the number 10. Put Bruno Fernandes in the number 10. On the left-hand side, I think we'll put Martial on the left-hand side. Daniel James on the right-hand side and Odion Ighalo up top. So that is my starting 11 prediction for, the current game against Chelsea in that. That is my current starting M11 prediction. Obviously as well, I have been keeping up to date, regarding the transfers, because obviously, Man United are making big plans for the summer transfer window, because we know more signings are desperately, needed at the football club. But not only more signings are needed at the club, we need a change of management. Management's not only the issue, we need to see a variety of changes at the club. Obviously, a lot of United fans have got doubts about Ed Woodward. They've also got doubts, about, the club's ownership. Obviously, our board have been a liability for several years, reflecting on their poor recruitment. And that's something, Manchester United do need to improve on, is their recruitment. Because our recruitment policy is very, very poor, let's be honest. Solskjaer, has been at Manchester United now for 14 months. He's been permanent manager for 11 months. One of the mistakes Man United did make was giving Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job on a permanent basis. But, reflecting on what he did when he was the interim manager, this is the main explanation why we're giving the job on a permanent basis. And he's got like 2.5 years left on his current deal. Solskjaer has enjoyed 3 transfer windows at Manchester United so far, and he has recommended 5 players in. Of course, last summer, he recommended Daniel James in, and Wan-Bissaka, and Harry Maguire, and in January he recommended Bruno Fernandes and Odion Ighalo in. So he has spent over £200 million, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, since he's currently come in. And I do believe in the summer, the club will be orchestrating on spending a substantial amount. I can't estimate how much Man United have got. I've been reading recent reports, and it did say Solskjaer's going to get around £274 million to spend in the summer. I don't see Solskjaer being here in the summer anywhere. I don't see him being here in the summer transfer window. But if he was to be here, it would be his 4th, transfer window, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. But, I don't, see him being at Manchester United. But more investments needed in the squad. We've got to address the deficiencies in the squad. Like I said, we need a right winner. Solskjaer's planning on bringing 2 forwards in. We need another midfielder at least. Need a centre-half possibly for the backup for Lindelof. Some people say we even need a left winger, and then we can use Daniel James as a backup. So we need around 3 or 4 signings in the summer. Solskjaer's confirmed in the summer that there will be more departures. I expect around 3-4 players at least to leave in the summer. I know we have got rid of a lot of the deadwood, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival, to be fair. I think around 9 senior players have left the football club since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival. I've been keeping up to date, with the news regarding Jadon Sancho. Obviously, I expect him to be at Manchester United in the summer, Jadon Sancho. Of course, there was a lot of reliable sources coming out saying that, Man United are emerged as the favourites to sign him in the summer. And the player himself is keen on the move to Old Trafford. He is expected to leave Borussia Dortmund at the end of the season. Jadon Sancho is going to cost us a substantial amount. We're going to have to pay around £120 million for him. Borussia Dortmund have quoted out that they want at least £100 million. And reportedly Man United are prepared to offer him around a £200,000 a week contract. So this is what Man United are prepared to offer him. Social media came out yesterday and said that Sancho has agreed to join Manchester United in the summer. So he's set to turn down Real Madrid and Chelsea, because Real Madrid and Chelsea have also been in for him. And I think Liverpool have expressed their interest in Jadon Sancho. Like I mentioned, Chelsea have signed Hakim Ziyech from Ajax. So that's another one of the main explanations why we are emerged as the favourites. Some people say if we don't get any European football, then, we could find it difficult to get Jadon Sancho, because a player of Jadon Sancho's calibre wants to be in Champions League football. We was in for him last summer. I think went in for him in January 2019, but we didn't get the player on the board. Jadon Sancho's endured a very difficult season with Borussia Dortmund this season. He has been dropped in a lot of games. In the 2 previous seasons, though, he's done really, really well. I think analysing the vast majority of his tenure, he has been a revelation in Germany as Jadon Sancho. He is only the age of 19. So Solskjaer did reveal, didn't he, that, he wanted to, continue the policy of recruiting young players to Manchester United, just like he did do last summer. And Jadon Sancho would fit our transfer strategy perfectly. And I would be excited about the prospect of Jadon Sancho playing alongside the likes of, Bruno Fernandes, Rashford, Daniel James, Grealish and Maddison, of course. If they were also to come in, I would be very excited about the prospects of that. And, Jadon Sancho is a player that can create chances. He can score goals. He can provide assists. His runs on off the ball are very, very good. I think he's still got around 2 years left on his current contract with Dortmund. He is under contract with them until 2022. Jadon Sancho's made 85 appearances in all competitions in the Bundesliga. And in all competitions, but in the Bundesliga alone, he has made 65 appearances and scored 25 goals. Borussia Dortmund are going to make a huge profit on the player. They're going to make a huge profit on the player at Borussia Dortmund because he only paid around £6 or £7 million in from Man City. The main explanation why he left Man City is because he didn't really get his opportunities at Manchester City. Did Jadon Sancho? He didn't get offered any first team opportunities in that. So likely he will be our first signing in the summer transfer window. If Solskjaer was to be still here, it would be our 6th signing overall under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era. But yeah, Chelsea is still in for him, despite the fact they've signed Hakim Ziyech. Real Madrid is still in there for the player. So we will see what happens. Obviously, he said the other day, Man United were planning a double transfer swoop for, Jack Grealish and James Maddison. He said reportedly, they'd cost us around £160 million. So if we were to get, Grealish, Maddison and Sancho in the summer, that would cost us £280 million, 120 for, obviously, Sancho alone, and then James Maddison and Grealish in the equation, 160. So that equals £280 million on 3 players. But then 3 players would dramatically improve us now. Jack Grealish has come out and told his friends that he wants to make a move to Manchester United in the summer. And I think if he does leave Villa in the summer, he will come to Manchester United, will Jack Grealish. Said the other day, like he updated you on it, said he agreed personal terms with the club. It also said he was searching for a house in Manchester. And it actually said, he was on currently £100,000 a week at Villa. But obviously, Man United, would be able to increase his wages. I think Jack Grealish would be the right calibre player for the club. He is up until this point spent the entirety of his career with Aston Villa. I think he had a loan spell with Notts County. And he's emulated himself up over the years. Jack Grealish alone would probably cost us around £45 million without James Maddison included. Because he's got around the £45 million release clause in his Aston Villa contract. He's still under contract with Villa until 2023, is Jack Grealish. And he's only at the age of 24. Can play as an attacking mid and can also play as a winger. So yeah, I think we've identified him now as our number 1 priority target for the summer. With James Maddison, him alone, he'll probably cost us a good £70 or £80 million because obviously, Leicester don't really want to sell him. Obviously, he hasn't signed that new contract yet because there was a lot of reports the other week saying that he was closing in on signing a new contract with Leicester. He has got 3 years left on his current contract at the moment with Leicester. Obviously, I think Leicester are going to give him this new contract, reflect on his good run of performances. And obviously, they do want to keep him at the football club. But he's a very, very good player, is James Maddison. And, if we were to have any chance of getting Maddison, Leicester would probably want similar or the exact same fee as what we paid for Harry Maguire. So take that into account. But yeah, there's more chance of Jack Grealish than Maddison. Maddison's actually our preference over Grealish. But, I said, didn't I was very, very sceptical, that we are going to get him in the summer. So that's, the latest there regarding the transfers. that's the latest, regarding the transfers and that. But I have said to you, I think the players that need to leave Manchester United, I think we need to get rid, of Phil Jones in the summer. We need to get rid of Matic in the summer. We need to get rid of Lingard, Pereira, Chong, Luke Shaw, Martial if he continues his bad run of performances. And all them players I've just said to you are all liabilities at Manchester United and that. So we do expect to see more departures. But, like I said, regarding Solskjaer, I said, didn't I, before, whether his managerial tenure at Man United works out or not, we'll never forget what he's done for the football club, because he was a good long-term player for 11 years, and he's got that proven pedigree as a player, but I just feel as though as a manager, he is, too inexperienced. Obviously, Man United have enjoyed their worst start to a Premier League season for 30 years. Since Solskjaer got the job permanently, we have lost more games in the Premier League than we've won. And, we're sitting, 8th in the Premier League at the moment. It's just basically, just not good enough. 8th in the Premier League. And I don't think this season we've actually, won 3 games on the trot in the Premier League. So that just indicates how bad Manchester United have been. It is a transition period, like Solskjaer revealed at the beginning of the year. And he's hopeful that we can get through this transition period. And, we revealed, on one condition Solskjaer will be sacked, and that's if Man United don't get any European football, and if we do, fail to, finish within the top 6. We said that the other week, that's the only way we'll sack Solskjaer. But, if we was to, get European football and was to finish within the top 6, then possibly Man United, could be determined to give Solskjaer another season, because this is his first full season at the moment at the football club. We'll obviously have to pay to get rid of him. If we decide to get rid of him any time within this 2.5 years he's got left on his contract. But I think we'd only have to pay around £5 million to get rid of Solskjaer. Like I mentioned, Solskjaer's our 4th permanent manager since the Ferguson era. Obviously, we've sacked 3 managers since the Ferguson era, despite the fact that Man United are not really known for the sacking football club. We sacked David Moyes, we sacked Louis van Gaal, despite the fact he won the FA Cup. And, we sacked Jose Mourinho after he enjoyed 2.5 years at Manchester United. He enjoyed the longest tenure with the club and that. So, and it's not always the right solution, persistently sacking managers. But it's very, very likely that Pochettino will be our next manager, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is to be sacked. I think Pochettino will be our manager in the summer, to be quite honest with you. If he's to come in, he will be our 5th permanent manager since the Alex Ferguson era and that. Pochettino's already come out and revealed that he wants the Man United job, so it's looking likely, he will be our next manager. So we will see. So anyway, guys, that's everything to update you today. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and there will be more videos coming up very, very soon. Thanks for watching.